Hey guys, in this video we've got the MT8 from Associated, and this one we're going to do another upgrade, and we have the RPM arms for this, and it's really cold out right now. If you look back on the shelf, and that's right back here, that is the Creighton EXB6S version 2, and we're supposed to be out and running it, but we've had some pretty heavy snow lately, and that's not going to go in it very well, so we're going to wait on that until the conditions are good enough to run it and get a fair test. In the short term, we're going to get down on the bench, we're going to show you how to install these arms and complete the upgrades. We'll go over what we've done in the car, and that's something we can do under weather conditions like this. I really wanted to go out and run it, but the weather's just not cooperating. This should still be pretty informative, and it could be pretty cool too. Check this out. Alright, so before we get started here, I want to point out that this does not have the factory tires on it. If you guys own MT8s, and you're probably watching this because you do, you know these don't come with it. These are monster tires. These are Hobeo monsters, and I'm going to read it right off the tire here so you get the right numbers for this. These are 68 by 45 by 25s, and that's what they are. We've had these in the studio for at least 20 years. And they're older tires and everything, but they really look bitchin', and we've had them on all kinds of different cars. The wheels have a serious offset, so basically the offset hub is right there within a ½ inch of the back edge, which puts a lot of leverage against the arms. I have no idea how that would handle with those on them. I put it on there because I like the way it looks. They're from Hobeo, and I wouldn't get a set of those until after we do the run and see how they work. I just like the way they look. It's so bitchin'. So let's get down on the bench. We'll peel this off. I was out shoveling the sidewalks and driveways this morning, so we'll go ahead and we'll get that stuff off and we'll get started on the arm replacement. Let's do this. All right, let's get the wheels and tires off, and we'll pull the body shell. And this is the upgrades we've done so far. So it's got the alloy hub carriers, it's got the alloy steering rack in it, and these are necessary upgrades. I recommend you watch that video to see how that's done. It does have a heatsink with a fan, and we did put the Dumbo RC6 channel in it. So let's begin. Check our sizes, and we'll start with the front skid plate. Always go slow with power tools, guys. This is sped up so it looks fast, but it has gone real slow during the actual unscrewing of the bolts and stuff, so that's how that works. There is one screw in the center here. Don't miss this one, it's important. There we go. And we have a broken part here. We're able to just swing this out of the way, but this piece and this piece, they're supposed to be one. So you want to pull these two screws to get the skid plate off, and that should help a lot. Let's go ahead and detach the shock absorbers, and we'll do both of them at the same time here. And we're going to go ahead and detach the hub carriers. There we go. We'll push those through, have a look at them, and set that aside. And now let's pull the hinge pin bracket. There we go. Nice and easy. Have a look at it. Looks like it's in good shape, and we'll just pull the arm off just like that. Nice and easy. So let's go ahead and remove and inspect the hinge pins to make sure they're straight, not damaged, and we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Here we go, just like that, and looks good. Let's have a look at that hinge pin. Looks good. And these arms are still in really good condition, and they look good. These will be good to keep in the toolbox as spares in case you need them. And the nice thing is they'll work on either side of the car, which is cool. Here's the replacement parts. And there's the front arms. Look at the difference in there. The RPM arms are much more substantial. The design is different. They just look a lot more sturdy, and they're a bit more flexible, which is nice to have. Let's go ahead and get the hinge pins through. This is one way to do it. Feed it through this direction. This is a little bit awkward doing it that way, but it does work. The other way is, let's go ahead and just fish the pin into the arm first, and then make sure our alignment's right. There we go. And get it put in the right place. And now we'll reinstall the hinge pin block. There we go. Just like that, and we'll put the bracket in front of it to hold everything in place. And we'll get those front screws in. Nice and slow with the screw gun, guys, nice and slow. You don't want to burn into the plastic because you'll have problems with the bolts staying in place. And then always torque by hand. There we go. We'll go ahead and reattach the skid plate. And these are two different sizes, so we'll have to switch bits between once we get them torqued. And go on to the front ones. There we go. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and connect the shock absorbers and check your alignment before you try to fish that bolt through there. Make sure that you get it lined up good so you don't cause any damage. And also we're going to the center hole, so we're going to see how the stance of the vehicle is with it on the center hole. So on the stock arms, they went to the outer holes, we're going to go to the middle holes. And you'll notice that the nut is inset on the new arms. So put the nut on the side with the inset and it'll go together just fine. And do not forget this front screw. There we go. Now check everything, make sure there's no binding, everything's free. It's got very little slop in it, very nice. Nice and tight, everything's working perfectly. And keep in mind, guys, these alloy hub carriers are an aftermarket upgrade, and if you haven't seen the upgrade video, I recommend you watch that one to see how that's done. Alright, same thing on the back here. And the process is pretty much the same with the exception of the wheelie bar attachment here. There we go. Now we'll free this up, get this plastic component off. There we go. And that's cracked. All right. See how they're in the outer holes here? When we put the new arms on, we'll go to the center holes. And bear in mind, guys, the center hole setup is simply personal preference to see what you want the car to do. Now this hinge pin is stubborn and it's bent. So we'll have to modify that one here to get it back into good shape. That one's in good condition. So the stock arms are good, but the hinge pin was bent. All right, so let's straighten this one out. And you want to clamp it in the vise right at the bent point so that you can adjust it, and very easy when you do this. Roll it to make sure you're flat and straight. If it's not, rework as necessary. There we go. All right, so check it again. And it rolls good now. Done. Just like that. Okay, let's get the new RPM arms on there, and we'll start with that. And look how substantial those are. And they're the same thing. See this? They're the same, one on each side, which is nice if you have a set of those. You can put it on either side when you break one, if you break one, and that makes it really convenient. There we go. And we'll put that hinge pin block in place. There we go, just like that. And we'll restrain it with this block. Get the wheelie bar attached. And there's the cracked part right there. So that will need replacing in the future, preferably before we actually take this out and run it. We'll get a new part in. I don't have one in the studio right now, but we will get that changed. Torque them by hand. There we go. And this is a pretty big screwdriver unit here, so it gives you a lot more control and torque ability because the handle's so big. So be real careful when you're using big handled tools because it can easily overdrive the threads in the screws. There we go. And we'll get that wheelie bar attached. Good. Connect the shock absorbers and line the ball up evenly because there's flat sides on that ball, and it'll go in nice and smooth if you get it lined up properly. If you don't line it up, you'll have a pretty good fight on your hands trying to get it through that slot because it's really precision built and it has to go in one way. So make sure to line the ball up correctly. Good. Little check, make sure it's free of movement. Excellent. So far, so good. So let's continue. Now we want to make sure and get that center screw in. Don't forget that one. That one's easy to overlook. Line up the axles, and we'll go ahead and connect the hub carrier to the arm. And when you take a look at that inset for that nut, you can push it into the slot. You don't even need a wrench. Just hold it and you can tighten it right down. Make sure not to over tighten it because you need freedom of movement, so you'll have to make a judgment call as to how tight you want it. With the nylock nut on there, it should hold just fine. If you have problems with these backing out, a little blue Loctite will do the job. There we go. So far, so good. Let's check the whole thing now. Beautiful. Nice and smooth. Just like that. All right, so let's just put the wheels and tires back on it. And, you know, for a real test on this to see how this works, we're going to go ahead and switch it back over to the stock wheels and tires. Here we go. And we'll get these. And now these are directional, so make sure you lay them out in the right order. And take a look at this. When you put them on, the V's should point forward over the top. That's how those are designed to go. This is a Traxxas wheel wrench, and these fit right in it. Amazing. All right, so now for the hubcaps, and these just thread in, guys. It's pretty simple. You don't have to torque them down super tight, just thread them in over there because this protects the grub screws. So when you have to get the hubs off, those grub screws can get packed in with dirt and moisture and all that stuff, and this keeps that from happening, so repair is a lot easier. Done. All right, so there you go with the upgrade to the RPM arms, and there's one little contribution that Traxxas made to this build, and it's kind of an inadvertent one. One, the mat we use is from Traxxas, and it's one of the best RC mats that I've seen, and it does a great job with all the little pockets to hold your screws separately and all that stuff, and it's nice thick rubber. That's one contribution they make to the channel. We bought this outright, but at the same time, we use that a lot because it really is a good mat to build on. Secondly, this is a wheel wrench, and this is the one that goes with the X-Max. And this has the staggered teeth on the nut here, and they fit directly in the end of this, and it makes it really nice to get those started. And also, when you go to put those wheel nuts on, and this is geared towards new people always, but when you go to put those on, make sure that you put the serrated edges towards the inside so it holds on to the tire and wheel assembly. That's really important. You want to make sure that the serrated side goes against the wheel. That keeps it from backing off. Also, we did have pretty good luck overall with the stock arms, but it's really cold out, and I know how that works. And if you noticed from some of the clips that we showed you, the RPM ones are much stouter. Still, they should flex good. They're made out of a really good plastic, so I'm really looking forward to that. We had no problems with this. We did find a broken mount here on the front bumper. It's not a real deal breaker right now. We will get that replaced. Also, on the bottom of the wheelie bar here, this inside strut right here, one of them is fractured. It's still holding really well. It's not a big deal. Nothing moves. It does seem to slip a little bit, so we'll probably wind up changing that one as well. So there you go, that's the upgrade for that. The MT8 is a blast, and we can't wait for the snow to go away so we can play with them some more. So hey guys, if you haven't already, don't forget to bash that like button and help our content spread. Hey guys, for AJ Jam Studios, I'm AJ saying, keep wrenching guys.